Pitch, he loses it. Leafs breaking back the other way. Mikheyev scores! Short-handed goal! Ilya Mikheyev tied at a goal.
You knew exactly what he was going to do with it when he picked it up on the left wing.
Hello, everybody. What an exciting game last night. The Leafs penalty kill scores more than their power play. That penalty kill is definitely becoming a topic of conversation around the NHL because the Leafs are scary on the penalty kill. They lead the NHL in shorthanded goals. And, shout out to Dubas for keeping a guy like Ingval into the lineup and adding Mikheyev, adding Kampf, and letting Kerfoot do what he does. And there you go. The Leafs are the best shorthanded team in the NHL, bar none. So I'm gonna start off with giving credit where credit is due, and that is Peter Mrazek. This guy is, he must have like amazing, mental strength to go through the stuff that he has, to be as bad as he has been, to go on waivers, to create cap space for the Leafs to do what they got to do at the trade deadline and things like that. Not being claimed, which is an insult in itself. There's a lot of teams that need goaltending out there, and nobody took a flyer on this guy. And after all that, the Leafs say, you're going to start Wednesday night. And he played a very good game. He played a solid game. That first goal definitely, wasn't his fault. It deflects off Lyubushkin, goes 5-hole, and then there's the second goal where the Leafs totally lapsed on their defensive coverage, and Hischier was left alone in front of the net to hack and whack at the puck multiple times and eventually score. So overall, Mrazek makes 20 saves on 22 shots, and the Leafs win. And kudos to Mrazek. Hopefully, he puts up more of those games. It's a pretty big win last night for the Leafs. They jumped past the Calgary Flames and Tampa Bay Lightning in league standings, and in the division they passed Tampa in the standings, so they're now second in the Atlantic, and it doesn't change anything whether they're second or third. They're still going to play Tampa, but they're only 5 points back of Florida. And as of last night, the Leafs had 20 games left in the season, and of those 20 games, 7 are against Florida, Tampa, and Boston. So the Leafs can really change the narrative quick going into the playoffs. Like, if the Leafs win more than half the games versus Florida, Tampa, and Boston going into the playoffs, it sets them up mentally. It puts them in a positive mind frame going into the playoffs, that they can't play against the best, they can't beat the best, even though regular season playoffs, completely different games, different type of games in terms of officiating and what goes on. But the Leafs have already beaten the Bruins this year. They've already beaten Tampa this year. It's not like they can't. They've dominated the Bruins and Tampa this year, so it's not like the Leafs can't do it. But they haven't played Florida yet. So, with the Leafs being 5 points back of Florida, there's a lot that can happen in terms of the standings with the Leafs having these interdivision games coming up. So, the narrative can change real quick around the Leafs. You play well in these last 20 games, and the goaltending questions go out the window, even though the Leafs are still waiting for Campbell to come back, and he is skating, and he does look good in practice, but when he comes back, no one is sure at this point, but Peter Mrazek played well last night. Hopefully he keeps that going. Eric Shelgren has looked good. I suspect the Leafs are going to give Mrazek Saturday on the road. I believe it's Saturday on the road. Let me double check that. I believe it's Saturday on the road in Montreal, and then they got a Sunday game. Yes. So the Leafs are on the road Saturday night in Montreal, and Sunday they got a back-to-back versus the Florida Panthers. Now, it's hard to say what the Leafs should do with the goaltending, but I would start the kid on the road against Montreal, and you're not at home, the pressure is not as high, and the Montreal Canadiens aren't as good as the Florida Panthers. And if you want to beat the Florida Panthers, then you got to put your best goaltender in net, and that currently is Peter Mrazek. So ideally, the kit starts in Montreal on Saturday, and Peter Mrazek gets the home start against the Florida Panthers on Sunday. And, if all goes well, the Leafs play the Bruins on Tuesday after that, I believe. Yeah. They play Boston in Boston on Tuesday. So, Peter Mrazek plays Sunday, gets Monday off, plays Tuesday. So that is what I would do, in my humble opinion. Let the kid play against the lesser teams, and let your 1A goaltender play against the better teams. If you want to get Mrazek going, if you want to get Mrazek ready for the playoffs, he's got to play these games. The Leafs usually play down to their opponents, so seeing that they might have a letdown against Montreal, I would put the kid in net and not Mrazek. And the Leafs have a tendency to play up to their opponents, and Florida and Boston Sunday and Tuesday would be the better option for Mrazek, because the Leafs are going to be dialed in those games, and it's going to be very similar to playoff atmosphere. The points matter. Like I said, the Leafs are 5 points behind Florida in the standings in their division, so every game matters. All the points matter. So the Leafs are going to be dialed in, and I would play the number one goaltender at that point. So, Mark Giordano and Colin Blackwell made their Maple Leaf debuts last night. And just to wrap up the trade deadline for the Leafs, they made some moves early, like getting Lyubushkin from Arizona and things like that. And on trade deadline day, they shipped out Dermott to Vancouver, and I saw him play last night. He didn't play too bad for the Vancouver Canucks. And the Leafs got Mark Giordano and Colin Blackwell from Seattle for 2 seconds and a third, which is great, because Kyle Dubas is putting down all the haters in this city by paying less for two players, Giordano and Colin Blackwell, than the Florida Panthers paid for Sherratt. Now, we all agree that Mark Giordano is a better defenseman than Ben Sherratt. So clearly, the GM in Toronto is better and smarter than the GM in Florida. So that trade to me is a very underrated trade. Everybody refers to Mark Giordano coming into Toronto at the age of 38 and being a supplementary guy, being a secondary guy, and based on what I saw last night, I'll tell you what I saw last night, and you guys let me know if you guys agree with this. The Leafs had Riley playing with Lyubushkin, and when those two guys are on the ice, everything is nice and calm. Everything's great. They had Brody playing with Hall, and that pairing to me is not the best pairing. Just TJ Brody in general doesn't play well with a guy like Hall. Just looking at that second goal, Hall is all alone in front of the net. TJ Brody gets there late. Colin Blackwell does not hit, push, cross check, knock anybody down in front of the net. There's no physicality there, and the guy's left alone in the crease, and Justin Hall is left out to dry. Not his fault. But TJ Brody didn't do too well last night. But you had Giordano playing with Liljegren, and that pairing looks good. So, very underrated last night. The fact that when Riley and Lyubushkin were out there, everything was calm. When Gio and Liljegren were out there, everything was calm. Things got a little hairy when Hall and Brody were out there. But those pairings will change once Muzzin and Sandin get healthy. But here's the thing. Riley, Brody, and Giordano are going to play 20-plus minutes a night. And you're going to be able to roll 3 pairs of defensemen once Muzzin gets healthy. In terms of, I think Riley Lyubushkin stay together. That is a great pair. Lyubushkin is very underrated in terms of the speed of hockey has increased a lot. Like, the game is played at a much faster pace. That's why you don't see defensemen standing up people at the blue line anymore. People who are sitting at home watching the game do not realize how hard it is when these young kids are flying dingle dangle. You see Hughes last night. You see Heischer. You see guys like Matthews, Marner. The game is so fast, and these guys are so skilled to time the hits, to turn around and skate backwards and knock somebody down at the blue line and stand them up is a very hard thing to do because the timing has got to be perfect, and the game is played so fast that you have zero time to react and line up hits like that. But Lyubushkin last night almost killed somebody at the blue line. He missed the hit, but if he would have delivered the hit, I don't know if the player would have got up. And the fact that he can do that at a high level, playing with Riley, and as fast as the game has been, and how physical he is, I think that combination stays together. It's a great combination of one person keeping it simple and being physical, and the other guy jumps into place and creates offense. And I think Muzzin and Hall are going to be the third pair on the Leafs going into the playoffs once everybody's healthy and ready to go. I don't think Liljegren makes the opening night playoff lineup. And then you have Gio playing with Brody. So with Muzzin, Giordano, and Riley, you have 3 guys that are going to play 20-plus minutes. Brody's going to be in there playing 20-plus minutes. And this eliminates guys like Liljegren and Dermott from the defensive pairings. And sometimes when you have too many young guys out there who are inexperienced and can't control the game, things get hairy out there. Pucks start bouncing around. People are hacking and slashing at pucks. And things get a little hairy out there. And what I saw last night when Giordano was on the ice, everything was calmed down to the way Riley calms down things. And it's very underrated how much Giordano is going to settle down the defense for the Leafs. And he's a minute muncher. At 38, he's got plenty left in the tank. Don't you worry about this guy. So what I saw last night from Giordano was, he made a couple of good plays. He made some nice passes, outlet passes, and his defense was really good. Things were just calm when he was out on the ice. And that's what the Leafs need. They need to calm things down a little bit. With Dermott, Sandine, Liljegren in the defensive pairs, young guys don't know how to manage the game as well, so things get hairy, puck starts bouncing around, and you get some weird goals. And I like how Giordano calmed everything down on the ice. So to me, this trade is very underrated. I think the Leafs are the benefits the Leafs are going to get from this trade are twofold for sure. Not only is he's gonna eat up minutes and keep things calm, but he's going to make his partner better. Like Liljegren looked better last night because he was paired with Giordano. I don't think, I've seen Liljegren play as good as he did last night. And Colin Blackwell came as advertised. He playing on the fourth line. He made a couple of good plays. He had a chance at the net. The Spezza almost scored a couple of times. They forecheck well. He's got speed. And I think going forward, there's a good chance that sorry guys, my dog is jumping at me. Okay, Charlie. I think there's a good chance that the Leafs' bottom six will change in terms that their top six is pretty much locked in. Like you have Bunting with Matthews and Marner, you have Kerfoot with Tavares and Nylander, and I want to talk about Nylander because people keep saying the second line isn't good, but if you look at the highlights, Nylander was putting on a clinic last night. He made so many good plays to produce offense. Just the puck didn't go in. Let's see if we can take a look at those highlights there.
Mark Giordano. Well, he made the stick of TJ Brody and out. Look out. Maybe last visit. In fact, they scored 3 times before the game was 10 minutes old, but the Leafs rallied with Peter Mrazek in a relief role that night to win 6-4. Here's Cam, big ball, and played to center. Kerfoot has to wait for it. Nylander to get back
nice
on
shot.
side, short side, and Dawes got a piece of that. Leafs in the midst of a change as Blackwell dashes after it.
There's Colin Blackwell hitting a guy into the boards, and then Spezza comes in and creates the turnover. That's what you want to see from Colin Blackwell. Physicality, speed.
Teammate of Alex Kerfoot at Harvard. Here's Marner trying to center loose in front.
Matthews trying to go between the legs. What a player.
He dropped his moat. Go Dawes on the board.
There's 3 plays that I want to point out for
takes the pass from
Nylander.
the back across. Bastion fire. Nylander's got it.
So right here, this is the first one. Nylander on the boards gets the puck, and he creates a prime scoring opportunity.
Alex Kerfoot, Nylander's got it. Final minute of the period. Nifty work by Nylander into the middle. Now spins it back. Oh, right on.
So there's the first one. Nylander takes the puck, puts on a clinic, skates around everybody, and then puts it on a tee for Justin Hull. That right there, if you want to complain about the second line, you're not paying attention, because that is a quality scoring chance being produced.
Doesn't leave the zone. Engvall had it knocked off his. Against side, he sure looks for Hughes. And chop. It comes. Bad luck. You're going to see the puck. Mara steps in on this face-off and wins it.
So here's the other one. Tavares wins the faceoff.
Right, he's already moving a little bit.
Check this out.
Mara steps in on this face-off and wins it. Nylander across. Labushkin fired that wide.
Now, Nylander was in the slot. He was in prime time spot. He could have ripped a shot, but the goalie was perfectly square to him. And so what did he do? He gave it to Labushkin. Labushkin got an opportunity on net. That's the second play.
McLeod, short-handed chance. And here's Jack Hughes loose.
Or you really feel comfortable, but
Who plays it to the line of the game. One short. Maybe McCann here to the net. McCann scores.
Ilya Mikheyev. The speed is so underrated. And the more he gets these opportunities, the more he's going to show he's got the hands to score. And that was a beautiful short-handed goal last night.
Now the penalty done. Hamilton in front. Oh, what a...
So this is a play I want to talk about. See, I like a guy like Colin Blackwell. He's got a lot that he could offer the Leafs. But right here, Justin Hall left entirely in front of the net by himself. TJ Brody gets there late. You could see him over here. And then you see Colin Blackwell not skating. He has more than enough time to skate into the crease and put a stick, cross-check Heischer, knock him down, do something to be physical.
Stop! Down to Forensic, they score!
But he decides to stick check instead and the puck goes in. See, this is what we need from guys like Blackwell. I know he let the Leafs in hits last night, but, you know, simple plays where they dump the puck in and he finishes his check and gets a hit, those are not the plays that the Leafs are looking for. The Leafs need someone to be physical in front of the net.
Home.
Around it goes to the far side.
He's playing with Matthews. Go.
Loose angle. They stop to reset. Matthews with a great pocket pick, and away go the Leafs. Here's off close range. Away. And a backhand stop. That to Kerfoot. Broken stick here for New Jersey. Sproul against Johnson. Nylander trying to get a shot away. Mrazek out of the net. Up off the glass. In tonight, trying to bump a season strut. Back-to-back
I
stop.
think we missed
Done.
Nylander play in the second period.
Heischer. First
Comes is over.
and Simmons.
There's one other play that I want to talk about for Nylander. So we already talked about two. There's a third play.
Stop. Three Devils are in, and Matt a chance, and Nico does for most.
There's a third play that I want to.
Give him nothing to shoot on Mrazek, and get fired that.
And you've already got take away the
Hear him, and it's across Severson scores off.
Let's see if we can
Wow,
find.
with here it comes as New Jersey's return.
look at half a dozen or so.
There's Heischer across, and that got back a bit.
Lift it out, but hasn't. When his
Knock it away. Now the penalty done. Mrazek made.
he reaches over with the stick, gets it with the toe of his skate,
Come on,
but he can't
Blackwell.
hold on to
You got to be tougher in front of the net.
Short-handed by McKay. Far side for.
one on this one. He doesn't have a nice little.
Tossed, loose in front, backhand to the and away go the Leafs. Nylander works his way out. Leafs are
Here,
in.
look at Nylander.
Takes the drop. Hall to the net, and the rebound knocked.
So let's watch that
Nylander
again.
works his way out.
Nylander gives it up to Kerfoot.
Leafs are
Kerfoot
in.
drops it.
Nylander takes
Nylander
the
makes
drop.
the perfect
Hall
play
to
to
the
Hall,
net,
and there's a
rebound.
scoring opportunity. So there's 3 times Nylander made a great play, produced 3 great scoring opportunities. So if you think the second line isn't playing well, you're definitely not paying attention to what's going on. Nylander is making plays. Kerfoot is making plays. The problem is right now just the puck isn't going in the net, but it's not to say that they're not playing well. I think they're doing a lot of different things. And the second line is definitely going to start contributing every single night. They're going to get on the score sheet more often than not. So second line was okay last night. The top line was okay last night. Marner scores new career high, 27 goals. Giordano Blackwell made pretty good debuts for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I think overall the trade deadline was a success for Dubas. He didn't overpay for anything crazy. He didn't give up a first round pick. He didn't give up a top prospect. And I think sometimes you just got to let the team that you built, the team that you have confidence in, play. You know what I'm saying? It's there's no point in doing a major shakeup and changing the chemistry of the team. So one thing I want to talk about at the trade deadline was the Leafs made a trade with Nashville Predators, and it was for future considerations. And nobody really knows what future considerations are and what that's going to turn into. But then the other day, I think 2 days ago, I saw a tweet out there that the Nashville Predators have loaned a player by the name of Philippe Myers to the Toronto Marlies, and this may be the future considerations that Toronto is getting back in this trade. And it's very interesting, that player, because this guy is 6'5", 210 pounds. He was a key piece in the trade that sent Ryan Ellis from Nashville to Philadelphia. And the Nashville Predators also got Nolan Patrick in that deal. But this guy, Philippe Myers, played 16 games in the playoffs for the Philadelphia Flyers. And I believe in those 16 games, he had 3 goals and 1 assist for 4 points. I think that's pretty good for a young kid. And yeah. So this guy definitely has potential. He has size. He was highly touted when he was drafted. And it's one of those under the radar things nobody hears about, nobody talks about. I think we're going to talk about this way more next year when this guy shows up to Leafs camp and he's 6'5", 200 pounds, and he's playing great defense because he has NHL experience. I believe he's on a $2 million contract. Yeah, he's on a $2.5 million contract, which may be what the Leafs use to replace Justin Hall. Or if there's any long-term complications with Muzzin and his concussions, maybe this guy can replace him too. Based on what I have seen, so this guy is a right-handed defenseman, and we need right-handed defensemen. He's big, he's strong, he can score, and talk in his draft year was pretty good around this guy, and this may be the future consideration that the Leafs receive in that Nashville Predators trade. Like I said, under the radar, not really talked about. I think this guy's going to be talked about more next year when the Leafs start training camp and this guy shows up and people realize that this is what happened in the trade deadline last year. One other thing is the Leafs have signed Curtis Douglas to a future contract, which just means it kicks in next season. And the cap hit is great. It's like $750,000 or whatever. And one thing I like about the signing, just like the 6'5" defenseman that the Marlies got from Nashville, is this guy is 6'8", 248 pounds. Now go look this guy up. His fights in the AHL, this guy's dropping haymakers. This guy's dropping bombs. I don't know why people fight this guy. He's a monster on the ice. And he's 6'8", 248 pounds. He scored 30 goals in the OHL. And for the Marlies currently, he has 27 points in 51 games. So he's just over 0.5 points per game on the Marlies. And I've watched some Marlies games, and I've seen this guy stand in front of the net, and because he's a huge beast of a human being, nobody can clear him out, and pucks go off his skate, pucks go off his leg, and he gets goals. So apparently he's really good on the draws. He's one of the better face-off men on the Marlies. And this guy could be a future fourth line center, or apparently he's been working on his skating, and the skating has gotten better, and he's going to work on that in the offseason this year and come to training camp and hopefully make the Leafs. Now, for all the guys who think Dubas only likes small guys, Marley's just got loaned a 6'5", 210-pound defenseman that was highly touted, and it was part of the Ryan Ellis trade. And the Leafs just signed a 6'8" giant who fights like Domi. He scored 30 goals in the OHL, and he has 27 points in 51 games for the Marlies. So the Leafs definitely understand that these are guys that can contribute at the NHL level or in the playoffs when the game changes a lot. And it's interesting to see what's going on right now. So considering everything that's gone on with the Leafs this year, and the issues with the goaltending and the defense hasn't been great, they just passed the Tampa Bay Lightning in the standings. They're second in their division, top 5 in the NHL in points. And I think it's time for us to take a step back, take a collective sigh of relief, and let's see what the Leafs do in these last 20 games, in the last 19 games, now that they played the last 9. The Leafs are a good team. The Leafs are a really good team. You know, they cruised through the first half of the season, just beating everybody. Tampa, Boston, Minnesota, they beat Colorado. Like, they've beat all the good teams in the NHL this year, and they cruised through the first half, and now they're dealing with some adversity, and it looks like they're coming out of the adversity now. So let's see what happens. Let's keep a positive frame of mind. I'm very excited with what's going on with the Leafs right now. Some very underrated, under the radar moves for next year. And kudos to Dubas for doing what needs to be done and realizing his mistakes, being creative with the cap to be able to add. And at the end of the day, you can only do what you can do. You can only control what you can control. And the Leafs have put some good players on the ice, and now it's time for the players to do what they do. So please let me know what your thoughts are. Did you know about Curtis Douglas? Did you know about Philip Myers being sent over to the Marlies? What do you think about Giordano and Colin Blackwell's debut last night? The Leafs looked good. Let's hope they keep it going. Big games coming up. Florida, Boston. It's gonna be a crazy 19 games, stretch to the playoffs. So the Leafs control the narrative, and they can make everything positive going into the playoffs. So thanks for tuning in. Like and subscribe if you like the content. We'll see you guys next time.